Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Ford EcoSport SES. This is the four-wheel drive version with the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. It's got 166 horsepower, 149 pounds of torque, 2,000 pound towing capacity. Let's have a look. In order to open up the tailgate on this thing, slightly different than what you might be expecting from a Ford vehicle. Typically we'd open up from here. Well, we've got a reverse camera here now. The EcoSport's slightly different in the sense that the tailgate actually opens up and swings to the side instead. So there's a button just underneath here. I'm just going to press the button in order to open it up. Alright, so a couple things to note about the EcoSport. It will come with this privacy shade, so it essentially helps to block out anything that you may have in the back of the vehicle to prevent thefts and things like that. In order to take this thing off, it's pretty straightforward. All we're going to do, pop it up. Rotate. There we go. So as you can see, it's got a little bit of storage capacity, not a ton. Now, one thing is, this tray here, you can pop out. You can choose to have it at different levels if you'd like to. But then as we get underneath, we've got an inflator kit here. So the inflator kit's gonna have your goop. Got our emergency refill kit here as well. Folding the seats down on this thing is pretty straightforward. So we've got a 60-40 split here, so 60%, 40%. In order to be able to get the seat folded down, all we're going to do, there's a button at the top here. Let's take a quick peek. There's a button at the top here. Just going to make sure that we press that. All right, now there's a button on the side of the headrest here as well. So we're going to press that button in. And it's going to drop the headrest down. And then you're just going to push the seat.
Perfect, there we go. Now looking here.
There we go. Doing the same thing on the opposite side. Button press. Push the button down here. And there you go. So as you can see, it doesn't fold down completely flat if you need to have, just because of this here. So let's drop down here to take a peek. Alright, so as you can see here, so it doesn't fold completely flat. In order to be able to do that, we're just going to take the tray out and then shimmy it up here. So now we've got a flatter type of a drop here. But in order to get a true flat, one of the interesting things about the EcoSport is that the center seats also fold up a little bit differently. Looking at the EcoSport here, this is the way that the seat would traditionally be folded down. But if we take a look, if we lift this back up for a second, we can see here there's a slight small tab here. If you pull that up, it's going to give you a little bit of space underneath here. But where this is useful for is now we bring that seat back down. Look at the difference there. So you have a little bit of extra space if you need that truer flat down back here. And let's pull around to the other side of the vehicle to take another look. And then just looking at a difference between the two of those now. And if we bring this tray back up, huge difference there. A couple other things to point out are going to be the driver passenger side seats. So on the driver's side, you're going to have a lumbar support in the SES trim level here. And then we've got the ability to move the seat backwards and forwards here. And then up and down here is going to change the back seat here. A few buttons to take a look at here as well too. So we've got our fog lights here, our auto lamps. I always recommend keeping the auto lamps on. And then we've got the display dimmers up and down here. From here, if you need to access underneath the hood, just going to give this a single pull. If you need to adjust the steering wheel, you're going to drop this column down. Looking at the key fob, we've got our unlock button, our lock button, and then our panic button or vehicle find button. Now, as you can see here, so it doesn't have a traditional key unless you push the bottom button here and pull this out. And then we've got our emergency access key here. Now, in order to start the vehicle, as you can see here, we're missing the traditional key. So in order to do that, in order to start the vehicle, going to make sure that the brake is pressed, and then we're going to hit the engine start stop button here. There we go, and give that a second in order to turn on. There we go. Excellent. All right, so the EcoSport here has an 8-inch screen. This is going to be the home screen that you're going to be met with. Just ignore this. This is the protective film that comes on these things. So you're going to have this section here. Audio on, off. That's going to turn, obviously, your audio on or off. You can also press the button here in order to do that. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, now if you need to add a phone, you can just add a phone in here. Selecting the phone button here, you can also add the phone ins here. Looking at audio here, let's turn the audio down a minute here. Perfect, there we go. So we've got our different sources here. Just wait for this to go away. So we've got our different sources. We can choose between AM, FM, Sirius, and Bluetooth. That's if we're hooked up to our phone here. Jumping back here, and we've got our presets listed down here as well. Now, if you want to set a preset, all you have to do is tune to the station that you'd like, and then you're just going to press and hold, and then that's going to remember your preset here. Direct tune here, you can use the tuning knob here. You've also got the option to use voice activated tuning, and that's going to be directly through your steering wheel. To the phone here, adding it in, very straightforward. Navigation. So navigation is going to be built into the EcoSport SEs or the SES. The SE, if you've got the SE convenience package, the SES is going to come standard here. So one of the nice things about the navigation here, we can search in, we can add in our homework, different favorites and things like that. All right, when it comes to apps, if you've got your phone hooked up and you've got things like the Waze app, that's going to be one of the big ones that you can use through the center console screen here. When it comes to different settings in the vehicle, we've got our generic sound, and that's going to give you the ability to change the treble, mid-range, bass, etc. Jumping into the clock setting, we've got our 12-hour or 24-hour module here. So we're currently on, let's go 24-hour mode versus 12-hour mode. We can see how that changed there. Auto time zone update, if you happen to be somewhere where the time zone gets updated, it'll automatically do that for you. If you're heading out to the East Coast, the West Coast, etc., it'll automatically update your time here. When we get to Bluetooth, those are going to be our current Bluetooth devices. Turn Bluetooth on or off. Phone, pretty straightforward. It's going to be
device and select it once it is found.
We can skip that part for now. Radio, fairly straightforward. 911 assist, turn that on or off. With a phone hooked up, it'll automatically come on as a default. When it comes to navigation, you've got some different settings here. You've got your map preferences, which can change a couple things. The big ones to look at would be route preferences. And the reason why, let's look at our route preferences here. Oh, there we go. All right, so route preferences here, we've got always use the fastest route here, obviously. Dropping down here, this is going to be the important part. So avoiding freeways, toll roads, etc. Dropping into our general settings now. General settings, we've got English, can change between the different languages that are available with Sync 3. Temperature, we're set to Celsius as we are in Canada. Kilometers as well too. So if you obviously wanted to change that out to miles, you could do that here. Jumping back out, we've got Wi-Fi, so the vehicle can have automatic updates. You want to make sure that you're hooked up to your home Wi-Fi to do that. It'll update the drivers and the firmware on the vehicle itself. The only thing it won't update is going to be the navigation. So that's not done through the automatic updates. Vehicles, some basic information about the vehicle here. You've got camera settings and then the serial number. Dropping back here, our general display. We've got the display off completely, a calming screen instead, which, as you can see here, tweaks things a little bit. Let's jump back into our settings again and back to vehicle. There we go, and display. background brightness auto dim is going to automatically dim the screen from this daytime view that we've got into a nighttime view. That's going to be done automatically here. Voice control, fairly straightforward. So voice command, if we look at the steering wheel here for a moment. There we go. So we can just kind of see it. We've got some buttons here. So we've got our voice control button right in the center here. So in order to have, so for the advanced mode, if we press the button here.
Please say a command.
So we get that initial please say a command message. Now if we turn the advanced mode off and we press that button again, as you can see there, we didn't get that initial please say a command. So we can make sure, I personally like the advanced mode, I recommend keeping that on. The phone confirmation, if you're making a phone call through the vehicle, it'll say, would you like to call this person? I do recommend keeping that one on just to make things a little bit easier. So we're gonna keep that on as a default. The voice command list, when you press the speaker button, this is gonna be the command list here. So it gives you an option to take a look at some of the different things that you can do. I recommend keeping the voice command on, at least until you get a hang of what the vehicle can do. We're going to go back here. One other interesting one I'd like to point out is valet mode. So if you've got your phone hooked up, people can see your text messages, your phone calls, and things like that, and be able to access your screen. With the valet mode entered, you create a 4-digit PIN, and it essentially locks the screen out, so you can't do anything with it. So we're going to set up a dummy PIN right now, make it very difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Confirm. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're good. And as you can see here, the screen is completely locked out. I can't do anything on the screen until I re-enter that 4-digit PIN number, and it's unlocked the screen for me here. So it's a very, very useful feature to have if you do have your car valet parked, or if you just want to make sure from a security perspective that your vehicle is secure. Scrolling over one more time, we've got an ambient light setting, which is going to give us some ambient light throughout the vehicle. Unfortunately, it's the daytime right now, so you can't see any ambient light, but you've got a couple swatches that you can choose between the colors here. If we scroll down a little bit here, we've got some options here. So we've got our volume control rocker here. That's going to turn the audio on or off here. We can adjust the volume as necessary here. This is going to bring up our general settings here for the audio. If we're listening to radio stations, we can switch between our presets here. If you're listening to an MP3 player or your phone, you can use these in order to be able to skip through your songs. There's also the ability to do that on the steering wheel, which I'll show you in a second. And then this is going to turn the screen off. This gives you the ability to manually tune the station. As we scroll down here, we've got our 4-way blinkers here. As we drop down here now, got a couple more options. So some of the options that we've got our fan control. So the vehicle is a single zone climate control. You've got your on-off button here. Rear window defrost. You've got your max windshield defrost, your windshield defrost. So if you've got the fan blowing, you can either select it so that it's going to the windshield, going to your face, going to your feet, or let the car decide and go auto. Now, a couple things, this button here is going to circulate the air inside of the vehicle rather than pulling air from outside. AC is going to turn on the air conditioning here. Max AC, maximum air conditioning. As we scroll down, we've got our seat warmers here. So we've got our driver passenger side. The SES also has a heated steering wheel. So turn the heated steering wheel on or off using the button here. As we scroll down as we move down, I should say a little bit more, we've got our USB ports here. We've got our traditional cigarette lighter adapter here. Dropping down a tiny bit more, let's move over. So we've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive, and our sport mode. The sport mode is going to give us the ability to select what gear we're in, and we're going to do that using these little guys here. So our plus and minus button, that's going to let you select what gear you're in as you're driving. Looking at the steering wheel here, we've got a couple different options. So the bottom here is going to be your cruise control. So in order to turn cruise control on, you're simply going to press the on button. When you get to the speed that you'd like, you're going to press the set button here, and you're set to go. You want to turn cruise control off, either brake or press the off button there. You can also cancel the cruise control setting that you've currently got. Off to the right-hand side of the steering wheel here, we've got our selector buttons here. So if we're listening to the radio, this is going to allow us to change between our presets, or we can answer a phone call, or we can hang up on a phone call. turn the volume up or down, or we can use the voice control button. Moving back out to this side of the vehicle here, we've got our back button, our settings button, up, down, and OK. So let's see where that comes into play here. Let's just move up a tiny little bit. Perfect. And we're going to press the OK button here, which is going to get rid of some things. There we go. Okay, now moving up and down. So that's going to give us some different settings here. There we go. Now, in order to be able to actually get into a settings menu, we're going to press this button here. There we go. And we've got some generic information. We've got display, driver assistance. The driver assistance one is an interesting one. Let's take a quick peek at that for a second. Let me just shut this door here as well. There we go. All right, so the driver assistance. So we've got the blind spot setting here. So where the blind spot setting comes into play, let's just move this up and over. So if we take a look, let's just roll this window down. So right on the windshield, or right on the side view mirror here, I should say. So we've got a little indicator light. That's going to let us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle here. Cross traffic alert. If we're backing up and we don't recognize that there's a vehicle there, we will get an audible warning on the dash here letting us know. The rear parking aid is the beeping that we get as we approach an obstacle as we're reversing. Pressing the, there we go, and there we go. Pressing the back button now is going to take us back a screen. We've got some generic vehicle settings here. So that's going to be your auto engine off. That's the one that's going to kill the power to the engine. So that's the auto engine start stop. Chimes are going to be the chimes that we get as we get into the vehicle. Vehicle lighting here, auto lamp delay. So when we stop the vehicle, when we lock it, I should say, these lights are going to stay on for 20 seconds, or we can choose to change that here. Going back and back again, we've got locks. Locks, we can do auto unlock, relock as well, and that's when we're walking away from the vehicle. Scrolling down, we've got remote start settings here. So if the system is activated, what happens when the remote start system happens? So the system's on, the climate control is enabled, seats and wheel. Now, this is something that you do need to make sure that the vehicle is equipped with the remote start features. It is available as a dealer added accessory. And then when we get to the wipers here. So wipers, you've got the ability for a courtesy wipe, rain sensing wiper, or the reverse wiper as well. And that's when the vehicle starts up. So courtesy wipe, I don't recommend turning that one on. Reverse wiper, there's no point in having that one going as well when the vehicle starts. Rain sensing, very important because you don't have to worry about fiddling with the wiper settings here. You just turn them on and it'll automatically adjust them as we go. And just jump back out here and back out again. And last one is going to be My Key. The My Key allows you to set certain settings for the vehicle, and that's going to be things like the vehicle won't drive unless the seatbelt's on, the radio won't turn on past a certain volume, or if you want to have the speed limited to a certain amount as well too. When we get to a couple of the side sticks here, so we've got the one on the left hand side, and this is going to be our traditional. There we go. So blinker lights here. Let's see if we can see these things going here. There we go. All right, so we've got our left versus right blinker here. Off to the other side. Let's have a look at this other stick here. On the very end, we've got the control for the rear wipers. So if we turn that on, that's going to actually turn the rear wiper on versus off there. This is going to control the intensity of the actual amount that comes out on the windshield as we use the windshield wiper fluid for the front and the back here. And then to turn the windshield wipers on, I'm just going to go up versus down. Single white down. All right, here we go. And the last thing that I'm going to point out on this screen here, so, is on the trip 1. Now, in order to be able to reset these settings here, what we're going to do is take a look at the, there we go, the buttons here. So we've got the OK button. All we're going to do is press and hold OK. And then there we go. That resets all the trip values for us. Pretty straightforward and pretty simple. All right, guys, next up, we are going to be test driving the 2020 Ford EcoSport SES. This is the 2-liter. So I test drove the 1-liter turbo yesterday, and it was a little bit gutless. So let's take a quick peek at the 2-liter, and we'll see how that one compares. All right, and let's back up here just to make this a little bit easier. All right, there we go. And here we go. All right, and time for a little bit of fun. All right, clear there, and let's do this. All right, let's get some AC going on right now. Ah, there we go. That's better. All right, it's very similar to the 1 liter. It's a very quiet ride. Like I'm very surprised with how quiet this ride is. There we go. Oh, where's this guy gonna disappear to? Perfect, and let's do this. Alright. I did just notice this is on high, so it is not blowing AC, it is blowing heat, and that should fix that. Let's get that going in my face here. Ah, beautiful. There we go. All right. Now the auto engine start stop is enabled right now as well too, so I am genuinely curious if this thing is going to stop, because when I test drove the 1 liter, the auto engine start stop didn't come in whatsoever. So I was kind of surprised about that one, but same thing. It's a very, very quiet ride, which I'm not going to complain. Like, it's not a bad thing. I'm really surprised. All right, not too shabby. Gonna take it on the highway as well, just because you have to feel the difference. I want to know that difference between the 1 liter turbo versus the 2 liter. Like, there's a little bit of a difference in horsepower between the two, but I'm genuinely curious what it's gonna feel like on the highway. All right, let's turn the AC down. Let's see if I can get that system going, the auto start stop. So we can tell that it's engaged because the A button here means that it's on. The system is activated, but it's not actually working because it doesn't always come on. It's not guaranteed to come on. Alright, not too shabby. Alright, let's move over. Just a force of habit. Those blind spot indicator lights are there, but just as a default, I always happen to look as well. It's like relying on a backup camera in order to reverse. It just doesn't happen anymore. Not the way that it used to anyways. Alright, and are these folks gonna go? No. Oh, maybe. Alright, and let's get over here. Again, nice, quiet ride. Almost. screen, best part. All right, let's see what this thing is gonna do. 2-liter engine, it's a non-turbo 4-cylinder engine. Let's see what this thing does in comparison to the 1-liter. So yesterday, when I test drove the 1-liter, I literally had my foot down to the floor and I was barely moving. Well, I shouldn't say barely, it was going. But let's see, here we go. All right, 2-liter, let's see. Oh yeah, you can feel the power difference like right from the get-go. Yeah, there's a huge difference here between that 1-liter and the 2-liter here. Up to highway speed quicker. Yeah. In comparison, you can definitely tell the difference for sure. So what I'm gonna do, I'm curious here, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of gas to see if I needed to pass somebody, what the response is like. And that's it. So with the 4-cylinder engine, you get that speed right away. In comparison with the turbo, it obviously takes a second for the turbo to actually spool and kick in. Now let's hop off and fix it here. There we go, there's that blind spot indicator. I'm gonna try to get it on the left-hand side here, just so you can see it a little bit differently. So in comparison, the 1-liter turbo versus the 2-liter non-turboed engine, 100%, I would go with the 2-liter. The gas efficiency, it's not that big of a difference. It's an 8.4 liter per 100 on the 1-liter turbo, and then it's a 9.4, I believe, per 100 on the 2-liter. Oh, I can tell in 2 seconds here. 9.2. So it's an 8.4 on the 2-liter. Sorry. It's an 8.4 on the 1-liter turbo, and then a 9.2 per 100 on the 2-liter non-turbo. People watching me recording. It's pretty good. Hello, you're now in my video. Little do they know I'm driving around with recording sunglasses on as well too, so you are officially being watched. Talk about a little bit of Big Brother action going on, eh? Alright, so still the auto engine start-stop has still not happened. It hasn't kicked in yet. I don't know if it's going to. It does occasionally. I haven't had one in an EcoSport ever turn on before, so, well, here we go. And go. Alright. So in comparison, like the 1-liter turbo in the S or the SE versus the 2-liter, I would go the 2-liter any day of the week. You've got a little bit more gumption when it comes down to it. The throttle response is instantaneous in comparison. Alright, this is what I'm going to do after I... Yeah. Alright, this guy's going to pass me speeding. I'm going to get over in just a second here. So that I can see what the blind spot indicator looks like. Oh, no, this guy's going to pass me too. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to get over here. There we go. And let's see as I come up to this guy here. I'm just going to point out the blind spot indicator here. So let's watch that left-hand turn signal there. Left side, there we go. And as you can see there, so vehicle's entered my blind spot now, so that little light is now on. And as I pull away, it's off. So it's a very unobtrusive light. It actually, like, it works extremely well. And I'm going to give my hands off to Ford on this one for including their blind spot system. It's known as Bliss in all of their vehicles. It's a huge, huge help. Like, again, turning to see if there's anybody in your blind spot. It's something that people have done for hundreds of, well, not, I shouldn't say hundreds of years when Ford first invented the Model A. But the blind spot indicator system is amazing. It's something I've always loved. And especially with how unobtrusive it is, Looks great. Turns, let's see. Corners pretty nicely. That's good. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Same thing, auto engine start stop did not disengage the engine at any point during this test drive, which again, like, I'm not surprised because it's not guaranteed to happen. All right, here we go. Boom. There we go. And that was the 2020 Ford EcoSport SES. In comparison, as I said, I would definitely choose the 2-liter engine over the 1-liter turbo any day of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed.